Hi, I'm Amanda, and welcome to this week's episode of Chick Chat. Chick Chat is the place where we celebrate the perfect fusion of style and adventure, and Jeeps have long been synonymous with ruggedness, freedom, and the spirit of adventure, and who says women can't embrace all of that and more? On today's episode, I have a special guest that I have met over the last few years. We've become friends, kind of working on a really fun event that she's going to tell us about today. I want to introduce Mary Walker. Mary, welcome to Chick Chat.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited. We're gearing up for the 13th annual Rubber Duck Regatta and Jeep Festival.
Awesome. So that's what we're here to talk about is the Regatta and Festival, which is how we met. So I guess, Mary, let's jump right in and talk about to our listeners who you are, who you work for, and what you do. And then we'll kind of jump into talking more about the regatta.
Sounds great. So I am Mary Walker, and I'm the executive director of the Grace Clinic, which is a Christian nonprofit medical clinic that's located in Rockwall. And basically what we do is we help those families that are struggling to make ends meet. We help them not have medical care as something that they have to stress about how they're going to pay for it. So we offer charitably subsidized medical care, mental health counseling, cancer screenings, women's health exams. We do sports physicals for kids, in high school going to play sports. We kind of run the gamut of your primary healthcare needs, but we do it in a way that's very, very affordable. We have the ability to help so many members of the community because we have other members of the community that may not be struggling to make ends meet that come to us also for their health care, and they kind of help us to subsidize those rates of those families that are just going through a hard time. And the other way that we do that is through events like the Rubber Duck Regatta and Jeep Festival. So it's it's an extremely good cause, that helps us to be able to continue to afford the medical providers and the lab cost and the medical supplies and the building itself. It helps us to be able to afford those things and keep our prices really, really low for those families that are having a hard time.
That's amazing. And so I think that, part of what I really wanted to talk about on this episode and part of what drew me into this community is the charitable nature of Jeepers, right? I feel like the group as a whole really loves to embrace their community and to give back. And anybody that knows me knows that I have a heart for my community. I've worked public service my whole career, and especially with kiddos in need. And so that's kind of how I was drawn to the regatta and to volunteering to work in the Jeep, the Jeep portion of the regatta. So I think tell people, a little bit more about the festival, and it doesn't just benefit the Grace Clinic, right? It helps some other charities in the area. So tell us a little bit more, because I know people are hearing festival, Jeep Festival. What can people expect at the Jeep Festival?
So the background of this festival is really interesting. It began in 2012, and the Boys and Girls Club of Northeast Texas was the main recipient of this event. And it was not a Jeep event at that stage. It was just the Rockwall Rubber Duck Regatta. And it was a well-known festival, but over time, and especially through COVID, it just started to die out a bit. And they were at a point where they said, okay, we need to make a decision here as to whether or not we're going to still put the staff, the amount of staff hours that it requires is just a lot. So you really have to kind of always play that game of, does this make sense? And are we bringing in enough to justify the amount of time that it's taking us to do this? Or are there other fundraisers that we could be spending our time on? And the CEO of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Northeast Texas is Jenny Kruger. And she said, I really feel like we've got Like, let's make one last hit at this and let's see what we can do. And so they made the decision at that point to partner with Grace Clinic. And so my job coming in was to bring the festival to a different level, to a different place. I had a marketing and branding background. And so I said, I think we can do something with the Jeep group. And at that time, I had several friends, that had Jeeps, and they would get really excited and put stuff on social media when they would get ducks that were on their Jeeps. And I said, there's this group of Jeepers that just love the ducks, and it's become this really fun way to interact with each other. And I said, I really feel like we could merge those two and kind of come up with this new concept where we have not only this long-standing rubber duck regatta, but also a Jeep festival, and kind of create this merged event where we can bring Jeep groups in from all over the Texas area and make it a really fun day where we celebrate the Jeeps and the rubber ducks. And at the time, that was in 2022, and we had in 2021, their final year of doing that before it merged to the new brand of the festival with the Jeeps as well. They had sold that year about 750 ducks. And when we merged with the amazing Jeep world, we sold over 9,000 ducks. And it was just an immediate home run. And we knew that this was absolutely the best thing that we could do. Keep this going. It worked really, really well. And we were able to raise funds for both Grace Clinic and the Boys and Girls Clubs of Northeast Texas. And so it ended up being something that we said, okay, let's keep doing it. But I'll be honest, there's absolutely no way we could have done this if we did not have all of the Jeep groups that felt the same way that you did, that it's a charitable group of people that are so kind and so giving and want to help. And, because we're a small staff, if you look at all of us that are planning this event, there's about 4 of us that plan this event. And then on the day of the event, there's over 100 volunteers that are there throughout the day, managing different aspects like what you guys did with the obstacles and the show and shine and the poker run. And those are all areas that we rely very heavily on the Jeep community to kind of help us make the event a really great event for Jeepers. And then at the end of it, we have a duck race and we give away a brand new Jeep Wrangler. So that, it's an added bonus.
I mean, if I left with a free Jeep, I would be pretty stoked about that.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
It's an amazing day that you get to come out and you get to hang out with your friends, right? And you get to check out a bunch of really cool rigs. And at the end of the day, it's all going to benefit the community, right? And you get to see a bunch of kiddos having the time of their life, and a bunch of businesses thriving from all of this stuff. And I just really, really enjoy it, and I'm glad to see it continuing to grow every year. But so you hinted around, you said folks can win a Jeep, right? So you got to tell us more.
So the general concept of the Rubber Duck Regatta began as just a fundraiser where people would adopt a little rubber duck. And then at the day of the regatta, all those adopted rubber ducks would be thrown into the fountains that are at the harbor in Rockwall in front of the Cinemark movie theater. And every duck had a number that was on the bottom of that duck. And then we would send an email out to those people who adopted those ducks with a corresponding number to one of the ducks that was in the fountains. And then we would count down 3, 2, 1, and then off those ducks would go down all the multi-level fountains at the harbor. And then at the very bottom, we've created this kind of finish line where it's a winner's chute. And so the ducks kind of have to come together into this, winner's chute. And so the very first one, we allow multiple ducks to go in, and then we actually pick up the chute itself, which is, plexiglass. You can see straight through it. And then we bring those over to the judges, and they'll pull out the first one and they'll get the number on the bottom of it, and it corresponds. And that's the winner for the this year's 2025 Jeep Wrangler. And then the second duck that's in there, it gets a $1,000 Visa gift card. And then the third duck gets a $500 Visa gift card. So it's not just one prize, it's multiple people get prizes. And then on the day of the event, we do lots of different prizes for people getting involved in the Jeep Zone, be it through the show and shine that you referenced, or winning the poker run, or, we have this thing called a corporate duck pageant where people get these 10-inch ducks and they can decorate them to, we've had people decorate it like Taylor Swift. We've had people decorate, different football teams or what have you. And then we've got judges that come in and we judge all of these different things and we give prizes out throughout the day. And so it's a lot of fun, and you can definitely go home with a new Jeep or $1,000 or whatever.
I mean, you can't beat that.
Right.
So, and it's a fun-filled day, too. There's a ton of stuff to do besides just the duck race, right? And the show and shine, which we've mentioned a couple of times. And I know that the different activities are forever evolving, like it grows and changes every year. So tell us this year, kind of what can we expect? What things are going to be going on at the festival?
So every year we have two separate sections of the festival. One section that we call the Lake Zone, and then one that we call the Jeep Zone. And the Lake Zone is down at the bottom, and which is right there by the lake. And what we'll bring out there are several vendors. We'll have live music out on the stage, which is the same stage that they do the weekly concerts at in Rockwall at the harbor. So it's that same big stage that's out there. So we have live music that's out there. Then we have a huge kids zone with, the inflatables, and there's a mechanical bull, and there's all of these, skill games like basketball, tic-tac-toe, or whatever. There's a lot of different opportunities there. Mm-hmm. And then we have food trucks, and we have, and that's all in the Lake Zone. So there's this mini Jeep races. So we let the kids that are younger, 7 or younger, we have all of these Power Wheel type Jeeps. And so they can race each other. And we have a way to stop that with a remote control if we have to, because we've had some of the Jeeps kind of get a little out of control with 4-year-olds driving them. But so we have the mini Jeep races, and all of that is down at the bottom. We have face painting, and we just have a lot, pumpkins and kind of all of that fun that stays down at the Lake Zone. And then up at the Jeep Zone, we have the show and shine, which has 5 different categories. And probably the most commonly entered category is the Bootiful, which is the Halloween decor. And it is so much fun to see all of the different, it's elaborate, the different setups that people are doing with their Jeeps and kind of getting into the Halloween spirit. We've got, 12-foot skeletons that they've managed to sit into the back seat of their Jeep, or we've had dry ice and lots of witches and all the fun and exciting aspects of that. And then we've got others that are used and abused and off-road ready and all ducked out. And so that ends up being a really cool place where you can kind of go and see all of these different Jeeps and how they are making it ready for the show and shine. And then each person that enters the show and shine, we give them a bucket full of candy. And so we allow the kids that are coming to and from the event to kind of do a trunk or treat out of every one of the Jeeps. So that gives the kids something a little bit, fun to do while they're in that area. And then we have the poker run, and that's done on the location of the festival. So you never have to actually leave and go to other places, but you just visit different vendors and you visit different sponsors, and you pull your cards, and then we give prizes for that. This year we've brought in something brand new, and I'm super excited about it, because one of the things that we always we're unsure about whether or not we should do it on this weekend or not is because it's the Texas OU game. And we know that a lot of people really get excited about watching that game. And we said, if you can't beat them, join them. So we decided that this year we would bring out a big tailgate experience. And so we have, we've got this big tent that we've rented. We've got a big screen. We've got turf. We've got carnival games that are coming in where there's 5 different types of carnival games that people can participate in. We have food trucks that are in the area. We have a DJ that's there all day long. We've got vendors that are out in the Jeep zone. We have the yard games also, and then just different games and things that we'll do as we get ready for the actual Texas OU game. And then once that starts, we'll have that on, and people can kind of come and wear their favorite jersey. It doesn't have to be Texas or OU. I'm personally an LSU fan, but you can kind of wear whatever and just enjoy the football aspect of the day, and you don't have to choose between one or the other. So hopefully we'll have people who were torn about coming out because of missing the game. They'll now they have an ability to come out and do it all. So that's our new and exciting part for the Jeep Zone this year.
I love it. I love that. So tell me a little bit, since you've been working with us Jeepers for the last few years doing this, tell me a little bit about your favorite part of the Jeep culture. How has it kind of drawn you in?
Okay. So it's one of my most favorite aspects of, I never could wrap my head around how are we going to make something like this so big and happen with such a small staff. And we had our very first meeting when we kind of came up with this whole idea. We had our very first meeting with this guy named Mike Etherington, and I call him, I call him our first domino, and he ended up sitting with us, and then he introduced us to Blaine with 4 Wheel Parts, and then that kind of went into this where we started being connected with different Jeep groups and different people who wanted to help for no reason other than just, it was for a good cause. It sounded like it was fun. It was a good way to come together. And I have just been so impressed with, it's not just, we get a lot of help from the Rockwall County Jeep Club, but they don't scratch the surface of all the needs. And so when we end up getting Jeep clubs that are coming from 3 counties away trying to help us, and just giving their all for months in advance, coming to meetings and dialing into Zooms and just giving their time to help us create obstacles, or to just spend time with us planning and kind of helping us understand, like, what is it that you guys like, and how can we make this an event that you keep wanting to come back to? And that has been my most favorite part, is we get so fatigued with it, and it's our jobs, in the big scheme of things. And so we've just been so impressed with, every year people come back and they help and they give of their time, and they do it because they just love giving back, and they love an excuse to get together with a bunch of their Jeep friends. And it has been, we could not do this without the Jeep community. It's an impossible concept to do without such a loving and giving group that are so welcoming and just kind and fun, and they're just up for anything. So it's been good. I'll tell you the one thing I have learned, though, through this whole process. The first year we did it, I put cones to stop people from entering a parking lot too early. And I learned very quickly that is a waste of a cone, and that Jeepers will not let a cone stop them. And so we started trying to figure out, okay, maybe barriers. Like, how do we make it to where they don't enter too early to set up? And so that has been the one tricky piece, is that there's no curb that they won't mind going over. So that, but it's okay. I'll take that.
And as somebody who had to drag those barriers around last year, I fully understand the frustration here. No, I remember when Mike Etherington got involved in this, and he called me up and was like, "Hey, Looney," which is what everybody calls me. He's like, "Listen, I want to get involved in this," and of course he knows, what I do, and it kind of my heart for the community. And he was like, it'd be cool if you could help, and you could, bring some people from your crew out here to help. And at that time, we started out doing the RTI ramp and doing stuff like that. And it's just evolved since, and we've been back every year since. So
Yeah, you have it.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh no, I just it's you guys have been great. I love you guys so much.
Oh,
You help
love
us.
it. Time. Now we're going to get you in a Jeep before it's all over with.
Ooh. So my kid
in a Jeep.
Yes, my kid is 15. He turned 16 in November. And so, we're in that place where, okay, we've got to figure out a car for him. And I had a conversation with him actually today that said, okay, listen, if I get you a Jeep, we're going to call it our Jeep, because if I guarantee you that I'm going to want to drive that Jeep basically from September through November, because that's my Jeep season, And he said, okay, I think that's fair. And I said, you'll have to drive my Ford Expedition and I'll drive the Jeep for those months. And so I think I've actually found a way we can bring a Jeep to our house. We've been trying to figure out how we're going to make it work, and I think we did it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So tell us, if folks wanted to get involved, right? If they want to adopt a duck, if they want to volunteer their time, how can they get involved in the regatta?
So to adopt a duck, all you need to do is go to rockwallduckrace.org, and you can see there, right when you get to that website, that there's a very large Adopt Ducks Now button. Every duck is $10. Now, we do have a promo code for anyone with Jeep Chick Chat or with the Jeep Talk Show. So all you need to do is put in Jeep Chick Chat or Jeep Talk Show into the promo code, and that gets 10% off. If you buy one duck or 1,000 ducks, you get 10% off by using that promo code. So I recommend everyone use that just to save a little bit if you can. And then we have, if you want to do that, that's how you go about doing that. If you want to be part of the show and shine, we still have a lot of space left in our show and shine. Like I said, there's 5 different categories that you can get into. And so that is also on the website, rockwallduckrace.org. And then if you wanted to participate in the poker run, you could go ahead and sign up for the poker run and get your card. You'll get your card when you get to the event on the day of. But you can also sign up for the poker run on the day of. We recommend, so the thing with the show and shine is that it's $60, but it comes, if you go ahead and get in before October 7th, which is the Monday of the event, then you get one free duck that goes into the race. So you could sign up for the show and shine and end up driving home a brand new Jeep. You also get a free t-shirt. It gets you parking right next to the tailgate zone and into the Jeep show and shine, as a participant of that. So if you can get signed up before October 7th, that's your best bet, so that you get the free duck into the race. And then let's see. So that's how you get all of those, to financially enter into some aspect of the event. If you want to volunteer for yourself or for your Jeep group, we have plenty of volunteer spots available. We actually have a sign up genius, but I think your best bet, if it's a group or if it's even just a couple of people that want to come together, to just email me directly, and then I can kind of help you figure out what would be a good fit. So my email is mary@rockwallgracecenter.org. So you can reach me there, or you can find me on Facebook or Instagram I'm Mary M. Walker. So any way you want to find me, go through Grace Clinic or social media, and I can kind of get you plugged in, and I'd be happy to do it, and would love to have anyone else who wants to join us that day and help us make this magic happen.
I love it. It is so much fun. It's something that we've really enjoyed doing over the years.
Oh, I love it.
And I have one more thing that I want to get before we wrap up the episode. I know, you've done this and you've pulled off this event so brilliantly for the last few years, and everybody has such a good time, and the community, benefits so greatly from it. What would be your piece of advice to somebody looking to tap into like somebody in the Jeep community, or somebody looking to tap into the Jeep community to do something like this, to create an event to raise money for the community or for a nonprofit or something, what advice would you give?
So what we have found, as far as when you are attempting to create something, now ours is really, it's a larger event in a large location. What we always recommend is to work with the city, like make the city understand what you're trying to do first and foremost, because they actually can give a lot of just a lot of help through their Parks and Recreation crew, which is what we have. We have a lot of support from the city. They provide us with additional funding that we would not have had because they feel like we're bringing tourists into the area. So we get, we get some funding from the city for that. So I always recommend work with your city first and kind of find a date that works for them and get them on board. And then a lot of things can start to happen. They can help you find vendors. A lot of the requirements as it relates to fire and safety, you really need to get you kind of need to get everyone on board to make sure that you have people who are properly licensed and properly insured. And so that's always been my number one. And then secondly, once you kind of have that whole concept laid out, try and partner with other Jeepers or other people who, have the same heart for giving back. And it's amazing how once you open that door, like people just start showing up. They want to help. They want to be a part of something big. And that's one of the things that makes the Jeep group very different than a lot of other groups. I think a lot of people will purchase a Jeep because it does allow them to kind of get into a whole new community that they wouldn't get if they, bought my Ford Expedition. So it's just it's a totally different mindset. It's a different type of brand loyalty. And so that in itself, I think, are, the number 1 and 2 ways to kind of figure out how you could take a bite of something that's a fundraising event like this and make it work is that way.
Yes. I mean, like I said, you've done it so brilliantly for the last few years, and it's just amazing for me to see, my friends and fellow Jeepers and strangers, right, that I have met out there, all coming together to support such a good cause and make sure their fellow members of the community are taken care of. It's really a beautiful thing. And something, we have a lot of listeners that aren't necessarily from the Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas area, right, yep, that, maybe live across the country, but could take this as an example, mm-hmm, and maybe recreate it to benefit, something similar in their area. And I would love to see more rubber duck regattas, all across the country.
Yeah. And it's a fundraiser that, it can be really effective. It can, even if you do it on a small level, it can still raise some really valuable funds. And it's kind of a fun add-on to a lot of already existing events. And it's an easy way, I think, to kind of get people engaged and involved. It's just, in essence, it's a raffle, but it's a raffle that's done in a way that, you can kind of follow along with and watch the ducks as they go down the fountains and things. So I would definitely say anyone who's currently doing, any kind of Jeep event, find a fundraiser that you can add on to it that won't pull too much from you as far as, a checklist is concerned, and see how you can give back to other nonprofits that are in your area. But I do want to say that this fundraiser, although it is based in Rockwall, it is open to anyone that's in the United States. So anyone in the U.S. can get a duck. If your duck wins, which we'll have it live, we'll live stream it on the day of the Facebook. We'll have it on Facebook Live on the day of the event. And so if you end up living somewhere else, and all you need to do is find your way to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and we will make sure that you get that Jeep. So this is open to anyone in the United States. I can't make promises if you're in Canada.
Well, you answered my next question, which was,
good.
I already knew the answer, but I wanted other people to know whether or not they had to be present to win one of the prizes. So you answered
No.
that. So
You do not. You don't, which is sort of, I think, why we're able to make it work. Because it's really hard for people on, fall weekends to kind of show up for that type of thing. So, yes, you do not have to be present to win. You can purchase your ducks from Ohio or Paris, Texas, and you can still win. And we'll give you 45 days to get here to pick up your Jeep if you need that. So we're pretty flexible on it. And although we do want someone, last year we had someone win, the McDaniel family. They were actually out at the event and they left early, but they live in Oklahoma. And then the year before we had someone that was in New York, but he was moving. And so he was moving back to the Texas area and lives a little outside of the Rockwall area. He lives, I want to say like in Richardson. And then Andrew, that first year, he lives in Midland. So we need a Dallas-Fort Worth, Metroplex kind of area, East Texas kind of area. We need somebody from this area to win. I'm rooting for it this year.
I mean, I wouldn't be sad with driving home in 20. All right. So.
Right. It'd be okay. And this year the Jeep is blue. It's that Hydro Blue, I think. Oh, wow. And it is beautiful. It is just, not to talk poorly about any of the other Jeeps we've had in the other years, but I really wanted something that was colorful. And so the Jeep this year is that blue one. And it has power windows and locks and it's got, all the things. And I'm dropping it off on either tonight or tomorrow morning to Mike, and he's going to modify it, upgrade it, and he'll make it off-road ready. So it'll have new tires and new wheels and tires, new suspension. He's going to get it all set up so that it'll be ready to go off-road, wheeling with the Jeep gals right away.
I love it. And I know if Mike does it, it's going to be done right. So good old Mikey. We can always rely on him.
Yes. And if you're in this area, he says, I'll make sure whatever is on that Jeep stays the way it needs to be. So it'll be good. It'll be great. So yes, it's definitely a lot of fun, and we're super excited and hopeful that someone in this area will get it this year.
I love it.
In this area.
So before we wrap up, Mary, is there anything else that you want to tell our audience about the festival? Any more information they need to find? And of course, we'll link the website and all of that stuff in our episodes. So.
No, I mean, Saturday, October 11th, the fun starts at 10. The duck race will be I think the game starts at 2:30. The duck race will start at 6. The entire festival concept will close out at about 7 p.m. that night. You can adopt your ducks up until 4 p.m. on October 11th. And you do that at the rockwallduckrace.org. And don't forget to use your promo code to get 10% off. And I hope everybody can come out. And more than anything, I think it's just thank you to all of the Jeep families that help us to make this event happen. We just truly, truly could not do it without you guys. Couldn't do it. We love y'all.
We love it, Mary. And I can't wait to see you at the festival again this year, and have another great day.
Yay!
All right. Well, that's it for this episode of Chick Chat, and we hope you've been inspired by the stories, insights, and tips shared today. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to the Jeep Talk Show so you never miss an episode. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and even TikTok now. And we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Thanks for listening.
Broadcasting since 2010.
You're my friend. You're my new friend.